everyone, it's Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how to crochet the winter hooded cowl. Now originally I called this the Holly Jolly Hooded Cowl because I used a yarn that was called Holly Jolly, and it's perfect for winter, and so I thought we'd just call it the winter hood because you can make it out of any color yarn that you want to. Isn't this beautiful? It's so much fun to make, and it stitches up really quick because you're using a chunky number 5 yarn, and it's all stitched in double crochets and front and back post double crochets. It has 3 of these, what I call Tassel pom-poms, because they're not as full as a regular pom-pom, but they're not as skinny as a tassel. I just kind of like them because I think they fit great. The cowl is held together with this cute tie, and of course there's also one of those tassel pom-poms at the hood. Now this hooded cowl will fit a youth to adult size, roughly a 22 to 24 inch head. It is big and roomy, and so it will work perfect for youth through adult. Now you can find this free crochet pattern on my blog, and I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. The yarn that we're going to use for our winter hooded cowl is called Swirl Cakes, and this is a Karen Swirl Cakes by Yarnspiration. The name of this is called Iced Cream, and it is a bulky number 5, and that's what you're going to need for this project. You're going to need about 10.5 to 11 ounces of a bulky number 5 yarn. It's a little heavier than your number 4, but not quite as heavy as a number 6. I really like this because I love the colors. With these swirl cakes, you get a section of yarn that has like a stripe effect, and then you also get a solid effect. And I really love this look. I think that this particular color is perfect for a winter hood. They have several other colors as well, and you can check those out at Michael's or Joann's, or just go to the yarnspirations.com page to see the other colors that they have. So you need about 10.5 to 11 ounces of a chunky number 5 yarn. The original pattern that we did was done in I Love This Chunky from Hobby Lobby, and they have lots of colors in those as well. So you have lots of options for this winter hood. We're going to be stitching today with our K-hook, and a K-hook is a 6.50 millimeter crochet hook, nice and thick and chunky. You'll need a needle to weave in your ends, and make sure that that eye on that needle is big enough that that yarn's going to fit through. It's just for weaving in ends. And then of course you'll need your scissors. To begin, we're going to make our slip knot, and we're going to chain 27 chains. Now I want you to remember to stitch this initial 27 chains just a little bit loose, because we're going to be stitching on both sides of that chain. Don't worry, I'll show you exactly how to do that. All right, so I'm going to chain 27 chains. We're going to place a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. We don't count the loop on our hook. 1, 2, 3, 4. So yarn over, go in that chain and pull up a loop. Yarn over, go through the first 2. Yarn over and go through the second 2. Now we're going to double crochet across our chain, stitching 1 double crochet in each double crochet across. We're going to place a double crochet in each chain across until we reach that last chain. I've stitched 1 double crochet in each stitch across, but not in that last chain. You have 24 double crochets because the chain 3 counted as our first. Now in this last chain, we're going to stitch 3 double crochets. So now we have the 24, 25, 26, and 27 double crochets. Now we're going to stitch down the opposite or other side of the chain. So we're going to turn our work and we're going to stitch 3 double crochets in that first. 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of those chains, working back down the other or opposite, it's been called both, side of the chain. This is the back seam of our hood. So 1 double crochet in each chain, working on the opposite side as we stated. And you can see how that makes a nice seam. And we'll continue doing that till we reach our last double crochet. After I stitched those 3 double crochets in that first chain, then I stitched 1 double crochet in each across. And you're going to have 27 double crochets on this side and 27 double crochets on this side. We're going to chain 3, which I already did, but before we do that, you might notice that there's a little hole there. And what you can do is take your needle, weave that tail of yarn in, and close that up by just going around. And it happens sometimes because we put a lot of stitches in the end of that chain, and we don't want a hole in the top of our hood. Alright, so I'm just closing it up with my needle and yarn, making sure I go through fibers and stitches, and then when it's nice and tight, I'll just clip that off, and then we don't have to worry about that anymore. Alright, so for row 1, we're going to have 54, because 27 and 27 are 54 double crochets. Now for row 2, we're going to turn our work, and we're going to be working back around. And so our chain 3 counts as our first, so we'll stitch a double crochet in each stitch, working all the way around. It kind of looks like a closed horseshoe or rainbow, and you're going to just stitch all the way around, move around the curve of the end, and then all the way back down here. 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets around. And as we work this, I think you're going to see how easy and quickly this project works up. There we go. Getting a little bit splitty on me there. This yarn is very soft, but it's also just a little bit splitty. So I'm going to keep that in mind as I go. And I'm really loving how it's working up. It's very soft and smooth and slides nicely on the crochet hook. We just have to watch to see if the yarn's going to split on us. Alrighty, so I'm going to continue working around, stitching 1 double crochet in each double crochet around. We don't add any here, we just stitch 1 in each double crochet, working all the way back down here, and then we'll chain 3. I have stitched 1 double crochet in each double crochet around, so I have 54 double crochets. And you'll notice that the end here is already starting to curl up. And that's exactly what we want it to do, because we're going to continue stitching around And you can see that that forms the hood. Here's the back of the hood. And by stitching back and forth, we're going to be forming the hood itself. And so what you need to do is repeat row 2, which is what we just did, 1 double crochet in each double crochet around, chain 3, and turn. And you'll repeat row 2 10 more times. I have repeated row 2 10 more times. Double crochet working back and forth for my hood. Now we're going to make the trim on our hood. We're going to be alternating double crochets and front post double crochets all the way around. Our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, so we're going to stitch a front post double crochet in the next stitch. So we're going to yarn over. We're going to go around the post of the stitch and stitch a double crochet. Our next stitch will be a double crochet. Our next stitch will be a front post double crochet, and we'll alternate this all the way around our hood. Double crochet in the next, and front post double crochet in the next, working all the way around the front edge of our hood. See how that looks? Double crochet, front post, double crochet, front post, working all the way around. I've completed this row stitching a double crochet, front post, alternating all the way around the edge of my hood. On your last stitch, you're going to have 1 double crochet and then a second double crochet. That's totally fine. We're going to chain 3 and turn. We're going to double crochet in the next stitch, and then we're going to stitch back posts in our post stitches. The back post can be a little bit more clumsy, but we're going to stitch a double crochet in the double crochet, and then we'll go to that post stitch where we stitch that front post and stitch a back post. It's called a back post because we're working from the back side instead of the front side. And so we're going to alternate back post double crochet and regular double crochet. Let me show you what that looks like. Here's our first 2 double crochets. There's our chain 3 and our double crochet, and then we're back posting in our front post, so we get that nice long edge, and that makes a really nice edge on our hood. Double crochet, back post, double crochet, back post, double crochet, back post, alternating all the way around. And it should be relatively easy because it's easier to find the front post stitch from the previous row than a regular back post. Even though back post stitches are not hard, they just can be a little bit clumsy. All right, so we're going to work all the way around, alternating double crochet and back post double crochet stitches. Here's the back, here's the front. I've completed that row of alternating our double crochets and our back post stitches. All of your back posts should be stitched in your front posts from your previous row. All right, so now don't cut your yarn. We're going to begin working on the cowl portion of the hood. Previously, at the end of each row, we chained 3. This time, we're going to chain 17 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. All right, I'm going to turn my work this way. I'm not turning it over, I'm just turning it a little so you can see. And what we're going to do is we're going to place a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to place a double crochet in each of our chains, moving back towards the hood. One double crochet in each chain. You should have 15 double crochets. Now we're back to the bottom of our hood. See, here's our opening where our face is going to be, and we're going to stitch across the bottom. And we're going to evenly stitch 54 double crochets. And so what I do is I sort of divide it in half. So half of 54 is 27. And so I try to evenly crochet 27, and then I'll turn and evenly crochet 27 on the back side of the bottom. That way I'm not trying to count ahead and trying to figure it all out. All right, so we'll go in those sides of the stitches. And one of the best ways to keep it looking even and tidy is to try to stitch in the sides of those double crochet stitches and not the holes. All right. See, I'm going in the stitch itself and not the hole. Because we want it to look neat and tidy. All right, so I'm going to continue stitching evenly those 54 double crochets. I've completed this row. Here's where we did our chain and double crocheted across, and then evenly double crocheted around the bottom of our hood. So you should have 15 double crochets plus the 54 double crochets around the bottom. Now we're going to chain 3 and turn, and we're going to just stitch 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets across. We'll stitch a double crochet in each of those 54, and then also in each of these 15. 1 double crochet in each double crochet. And what we're doing here is forming the cowl portion of our hooded cowl. 1 double crochet in each double crochet across. I have completed this row, which is row 16. 1 double crochet in each double crochet around or across. We're going to chain 3 and turn. And what we're going to do is we're going to repeat this row 3 more times. So we're going to repeat row 16 3 more times, which is 1 double crochet in each double crochet around, chain 3 and turn for 3 more times. I completed those 3 additional rows of just 1 double crochet in each double crochet, chain 3 and turn. Now we're going to put this edge that we put on here on the bottom of our cowl portion of our hooded cowl. All right, let me flip this here. So we're going to begin the same way. Chain 3, front post in the next stitch. Double crochet, front post in the next stitch. And of course, those are front post double crochets. And we'll do this all the way around the bottom portion of our cowl. 1 double crochet in the next, front post double crochet in the next, working all the way across the bottom of our cowl. I completed this row stitching front post double crochet, front post double crochet. Now we're going to repeat what we did here. Our chain 3 counts is our first. We're going to double crochet in the next, and then we're going to stitch a back post in those front post stitches. That way the trim on the bottom of our cowl looks like the trim on the bottom, or the hood portion, not the bottom, of our hood. Looks similar. We'll repeat this all the way across, stitching our double crochets in our double crochets and our back posts in our front post stitches, working all the way around. And I am really loving how this yarn is working out with this project. This sort of reminds me of an Elsa from Frozen hood. Of course, we're not done quite yet. All right, so I'm going to continue working around, stitching my back posts in the front post from the previous row, and a double crochet in each double crochet, making a lovely trim on our cowl. So I've completed that row of double crochet and back posts, and I did my back posts all in my front post stitches. And now we're going to just add a single crochet trim. We're going to stitch up around the edge of the hood, back down this edge, and finish off down here, just so that it has a nice finished edge. All right, so all we're going to do is just evenly single crochet. Now when we get to the hood, we do have stitches to stitch in. There's not a set amount of stitches, we just want a nice edge. And yes, this is being stitched on the inside, and it will look like that on the outside. Make sure when you're on this edge that you're stitching in stitches and not the holes. All right, so now I'm up to the edge of where the hood is, and I'm just going to place a single crochet in each of those stitches, which makes it nice following around the edge of the hood since we have stitches to stitch in. And again, this is the outside. We're stitching from the inside. I've stitched all the way around the opening of the hood, and now I'm to this side here, and I'm just going to stitch a single crochet in each of those chain stitches across, similar to working down the opposite side of the chain. There we go. To the corner. Put a couple of stitches in the corner so it moves around nicely. And then we're just going to work down this edge. And again, we don't have stitches to go in. We're just going to place our stitches evenly, trying to work in the sides of the stitches and not the holes themselves. And that just gives us a nice edge on this flap for our cowl. Oops, there we go. All right, so now I'm to the bottom of that edge, and I'm going to cut my yarn. I'm going to pull that loop to the back to tie that off. Oops, I'm not. We're on the back here, so I'm going to pull it this way. There we go. And now I can just grab that needle and weave this end in. And the cowl and the hood are all complete. Now we just need the details of the ties and the pom-poms. And this thing will be ready when winter hits. The way the cowl flap is held together is with a nice chunky tie. And we're going to make that by holding 2 strands of our yarn together and chaining 60. So I'm making my slip knot. I'm still using my K-hook, and I'm just going to chain 60 chains. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And you're going to need to pull your yarn out and make sure that it doesn't get twisted. Take your time, don't lose a loop, things like that. Make a chain that's 60 chains long with 2 strands of our Chunky 5 yarn. Once you've chained your chain of 60 chains, go ahead and cut your yarn and tie off. And we're going to use this chain to add it to our cowl to hold it together. So here's our completed hooded cowl. We have a flap, and the flap just goes right over across, and we're going to use this chain that we just made to hold the flap. And the way you do that is you just put your hook through like that, and you want to make sure that you go through both thicknesses all the way to the back. And you do this up in the corner area in those first 2 rows of our flap. We're not going to be tying the bottom because it sits like this. All right, so we're going to take this chain and we're going to pull it through. And I like to just tie a knot because when I put mine on, I just slip it over my head. So I'm just going to tie a knot, and then we'll tie a bow. That way, if your bow comes out, you're still connected. You're going to need 3 of what I call tassel pom-poms. And it's a combination of a tassel and a pom-pom. And the reason that I call it that is because it's put together like a pom-pom, but it's very loose, similar to a tassel. And so I call them tassel pom-poms. You can use these, make these. You can buy, faux fur pom-poms or make them any other color that you want to or any other way that you want to. This is just what I prefer for this project for myself. And you're going to need 3, 1 for each end of the tie and then 1 for the point of the hood. All right, so what you're going to need is you're going to need to cut a piece of yarn about 10 or 12 inches long. And then you're going to need to wind this around your fingers. And I am going to wind it around my 4 fingers. And I'm going to do this a bunch of times, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 times. I think that's good. I don't want it to be real thick. I want it to be loose like a tassel. Okay, so I'm going to take this. I'm going to put the string through. And this is just a really simple way to do this. All right, and then I'm just going to tie that 1, 2, 3 times. All right, let me grab this tin I'm using here. I'm going to hold my pom-pom over it. I'm first going to cut the loops. And then I'm going to hold my hand down there and just cut it across. Make sure you got a good pair of scissors. And I think that's a little long, so I'm going to cut it again, maybe even it out a little bit. And I don't mind if some of the tassels are longer than the others. I want it to, or some of the strands of yarn are longer than the others. I want it to have sort of a tassel look. Just choose one of them that you like. I'm going to put this one up here at the hood. Take your crochet hook, go in. And I like to try to go in one side with one strand. And I'll pull that in. And then I'll go to another side. And you want to try to go through a stitch, not a hole, because that's going to hold it even better. All right, so now I'm going to come to the inside here, and I'm going to pull those two strands. 1, 2, and I'm going to make a different kind of knot. This is that knot I do all the time. I don't know what it's called. I call it a wrap through knot or wrap around. And now that's on secure. Clip that. So now I have that little tassel at the hood of my hooded cowl. All right. Now we're just going to add a tassel to the ends of our ties. All right. So we're going to take the long strings, and I just take it as close as I can to the end. Just like that. I'll do it again because I want that tassel pom-pom to stay nice and tight, and then I'll just pull this out like this, and I'll cut those strings to be around the same size as my pom-pom, and then they'll just blend in. All right, let's do the other one real quick, and I'll be all ready for winter. Pull those down, try to cut them about the same, and there you go, 2 pom-poms on the ends of my ties.